Hello there my dear friends, and welcome back to another Star Wars video. So, it finally happened. It's official. Kathleen Kennedy has stepped down as Lucasfilm president. For once, the rumors were true. For years, on and off sporadically, we'd been hearing the same old thing. Kathleen Kennedy's on the brink of stepping down, and it finally happened. But I do want to caution you guys, she is not retiring. And I've been covering the build up to this for a couple of weeks, and I think the biggest sign was the other night, when Lucasfilm posted a video, "Welcome to Lucasfilm 2026, and there was no Kathleen Kennedy. It was Dave Filoni who gave the final message at the end. Some people said, Meg, you're overthinking this, it's a nothing burger, it's just a video. But look what happened. 48 hours later, and the announcement has come. And with it, tons and tons of Star Wars updates. Kathy has addressed every single upcoming movie, and that's the bit that's going to shock you. The future direction of the franchise, some Dave Filoni stuff. There is so much to break down. And stay tuned because, and here's a big surprise, I was interviewed for this. And before we dive into it, please be sure to hit the big subscribe button down below if you've not done so, ring the bell for notifications, but no more jibber jabber, let's talk about the initial announcement on StarWars.com. After 14 years of leading the studio, Kathleen Kennedy is stepping down, but she's not retiring, she's returning to producing, including on The Mandalorian and Grogu, and Star Wars Starfighter. So she's still going to maintain a recurring presence at Lucasfilm. But her replacements are the two candidates we already knew about, Dave Filoni and Lynwen Brennan, who was already the president of Lucasfilm Business. Dave Filoni's going to take care of the creative side, and Brennan, the business side. But make no mistake, Dave Filoni really is going to be the face of the company. And in a brand new official statement, he said this: "My love of storytelling was shaped by the films of Kathleen Kennedy and George Lucas. I never dreamed I would be privileged to learn the craft of filmmaking from both of them. From Rey to Grogu, Kathy has overseen the greatest expansion in Star Wars storytelling on screen that we've ever seen. I'm incredibly grateful to Kathy, to George, Bob Iger and Alan Bergman for their trust and for the opportunity to lead Lucasfilm doing a job I truly love. May the Force be with you." A nice little tribute there, and of course the mention of Rey and Grogu is quite funny, but then again, you could argue those two characters are part of Kathleen Kennedy's greatest hits.
There are characters that weren't part of the promotional material. I have to thank Disney and Lucasfilm, because the way the cat usually gets out of the bag with that stuff is merchandising and toy catalogs and things like that. So they really backed us up. We really wanted to have it be that you had to watch it yourself, so that every time you watch the show, there are new twists and secrets that come out.
So from Dave Filoni, we move on to Lynwen Brennan, and she says this: "Lucasfilm has played such a meaningful part in my life. It's a community of inspiring storytellers with a rebel spirit like no other, and I'm honoured in joining Dave Filoni to lead us forward. I've been so fortunate to learn from George Lucas, Kathleen Kennedy, and Alan Bergman." So that's the PR stuff out of the way. That was the initial announcement on StarWars.com, but then came some big updates from The Hollywood Reporter and Deadline, so let's go through those. The one statement that really stands out is something I tried to warn about a few days ago, that Filoni and Brennan are going to have to report to Alan Bergman, co-chairman of Disney, someone who I get the impression isn't the biggest Star Wars fan. He's the person we believe cancelled The Acolyte, he had a big say in cancelling The Hunt for Ben Solo, and whether you like those projects or you don't, this really reeks of Disney overreach, and to me that's a big red flag. And look, I understand this is like no shit Sherlock. Lucasfilm is owned by Disney. Just like Kathleen Kennedy, the new co-presidents are going to have to answer to him. But there is a big difference between Dave Filoni and someone like Kathleen Kennedy. Say what you will about Kathy, and yes, she made some horrendous mistakes. She was someone with a position of authority and respect within Lucasfilm, within Disney, and within Hollywood. She could put her foot down and say no. But now that she's gone, and they're already talking about Filoni and Brennan being responsible to Alan Bergman, this could mean that Disney has a larger say over the creative side of Lucasfilm, and the future of Star Wars as a result. I'm not saying that's going to happen for certain, but this statement does raise a few red flags. The next reveal from The Hollywood Reporter is that Dave Filoni's movie, the Mandoverse crossover movie as they call it, is on the back burner. Apparently, now that The Mandalorian and Grogu by Jon Favreau is coming out, Filoni's flick is no longer priority, and it's being shelved. And I've seen fans on Star Wars social media take this soundbite, and as a result I've seen dozens of headlines saying Dave Filoni's movie's been cancelled. but it hasn't.
You're sweating. Relax.
Let's take a deep breath. If you read the article and look at the wording, it's clearly just their opinion. There is no confirmation of this. I suppose because we haven't had anything of an official update in a very long time, some people assume it's on the back burner. But just to refresh your memories, my friends, at Star Wars Celebration in Japan, Dave Filoni did provide an update. He confirmed he's still in the writing process, but he was working on it alongside Ahsoka Season 2. My guess is it could be the 2028 Star Wars movie. But it's definitely not cancelled. He said he already knows what the opening scene is going to be. We have heard rumours he's going to reintroduce Luke, Han and Leia in some way, shape or form. And of most of the upcoming films, this is one which I think is almost a certainty. So don't always inherently believe the first headline you come across. There's a lot of jibber jabber out there, my friends, a lot of BS, a lot of people taking things out of context, and it's so important in the age of misinformation to differentiate between opinions and facts. There is nothing official stating the Dave Filoni movie is cancelled or delayed. But now, my friends, let's move on to the juicy updates. A shift in the force for Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy. She didn't hold back. This interview contains the most expansive set of reveals she's ever given, including on projects we didn't know about. For instance, she reveals 3 names, 3 huge creatives who we had no idea she had spoken to about making something in the Star Wars universe. David Fincher, Vince Gilligan, and Alex Garland. And recently there was a rumor of a Star Wars horror film, so maybe that was the Garland one, I don't know. But let's get on to the meat and potatoes, and I will just say, my friends, because this is so long, because there is so much she reveals, I will be dedicating other videos to very specific aspects of this. Certain films I want to expand upon, so do stay tuned. But let's go through these one by one. She's very excited for Star Wars Starfighter. Like I said, this is one of the 2 movies she is confirmed to be producing, but the most interesting thing she had to say about the Sean Levy movie is that while it is a standalone, based on the reception and the box office, it could receive a sequel. And something I noticed throughout this interview is that so many things are now down to Dave. She'll bring up something that might be planned, something on the back burner, but then she'll give the caveat, it's all down to Dave. Does Dave Filoni want to pursue it? And this brings us on to our next project, the Lando movie. Originally intended to be a Disney Plus show, it's now a movie. And Kathy provides a huge update. Donald Glover just turned in a script. She doesn't sound too convinced the movie's going to come out anytime soon, but it's not fully on the back burner. It is still in development. As for James Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi, that's on hold, but she does say it's got an incredible script. And this actually confirms a suspicion we had back in August. Mangold has been accepting other projects, pushing his Star Wars movie back, but it is still going to happen at some point, and he's working on the script with Beau Willimon, one of the best writers on Andor. Then she seems to imply Simon Kinberg's trilogy is a priority, episodes 10, 11 and 12, which he says the new co-presidents are very happy about. Then Kathy talks about Taika Waititi's movie, and yes, that one is not canned, it is still in development, and Kathy's read the script, which she describes as hilarious and great. But then comes the biggest reveal of all of them. She seems to confirm the hunt for Ben Solo is not dead. She says anything is a possibility. And again, that's down to Dave. Can Dave Filoni convince Bob Iger and Alan Bergman that they were wrong? Can he be the one to turn things around on this front? She appears to have some hope. And a message she passes on to Dave, which is the exact same thing Bob Iger told her, is to be bold and to take risks. We don't know what a Dave Filoni Lucasfilm is going to look like, but I guess we're about to find out. Now it's official, my friends. And as I teased at the start of this video, I was recently interviewed for the Wall Street Journal. Star Wars gets new leader for franchise's next era. I was specifically asked about Kathleen Kennedy's legacy, the good and the bad. I did give them quite a lot, but they went with this quote. The only thing we're clear about is that Kathleen Kennedy is the one who seeks out these creative types and puts them in charge of projects at Lucasfilm, and sometimes that's gone horribly wrong. And for the good, I gave the examples of Skeleton Crew, of course Andor, The Mandalorian, and when it comes to the bad, I spoke about the lack of a coherent vision for the sequels, the people behind the Acolyte, and I mentioned cancelled and indefinitely delayed projects, the overall management of Lucasfilm. But I'm so happy to have been mentioned in this, and I think they did a great job of covering the entire thing. But that's the main breaking news for now, my friends. Look out for follow-up videos because I do want to talk about one or two specific elements of what's come out, but share your thoughts, your initial thoughts, in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this one, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and may the force be with you, always.